All right, here we go. It is are we day drinking? Is this day drinking? It's not a nightcap. It's still light outside.
It's the weekend, so it's not frowned upon.
Yeah, it's day drinking. We're day drinking for the show. It's a live reaction show, as always, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken. Visit our good friends at Galactic Fried Chicken, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, everything Galactic, or get down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15% on your order. We will give it a few moments for everybody to get in here. But first, Aaron, big spender today. You were confident in this Bearcats victory. You put a 50 spot on the Bearcats plus 100, doubled your money. Has to feel good. You're like a five. You like to dabble. You like to dip your toe in the water. You were up above your knees today.
I was. And by the way, that plus 100 spread came on a Betfred boost. Don't forget, you can download Betfred on your phone. Use the promo code Bearcat, all caps. That's Bearcat singular for your Bearcat Journal promotions and also supporting us here at Bearcat Journal. Yeah, the spread, I believe, just the money line was minus 105 when they initially offered the boost. So it boosted it from minus 105. I think when I saw the money line, it was at like 110, 118, somewhere in that range. When it got to about 1.5 on the spread. But yeah, I put a 50 spot down. I made some calls and jumped all the way in, and that's about 10 times my normal unit. So I was feeling it.
Congratulations.
Told you, man. You gotta win game. It's a mid-major team. Like, I understand Rutgers was probably still reeling when they played Hofstra because they didn't make the tournament.
I watched most of that game. Rutgers played hard. Rutgers played hard, and they had that game under control. Hofstra just closed them and walked them down at the end, got it to overtime, and then hit the shot in overtime to win. Like, that wasn't it, for me, at least the way I see it, Aaron. Like, if you come out and you get beat by 12 by Hofstra, then yeah, Rutgers, their head wasn't in it. I thought Rutgers played pretty well. Hofstra just played a little bit better. And Hofstra was ready for this game today. Like, they were pumped up. You could tell they were. Cincinnati size was just too much ultimately, everywhere.
I would absolutely agree. It's the type of game that they should have won. They took care of, and they didn't really ever let up. Like, I mean, I know that it was a back and forth in the first half, but you still never felt like they weren't in control of the pace of the game, and even in the first half as it was going back and forth, right? Like, they dictated what they wanted to do throughout the first half.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that they did allow to happen in the first half was Hofstra made some good, clean looks from three. Dubar and Thomas, those two guys went 5 of 6. And Hofstra hit 6 of 11 threes in the first half. And ultimately, that's what allowed them to hang around. They also got to the free throw line 9 times. They made 7 of 9 free throws. Second half, they clamped down on D. Hofstra goes 1 of 10 from 3, only attempts 4 free throws, makes 3 of them. And that's really your difference in the game and why Cincinnati was able to pull away, because they kept getting to that point in the first half where they're up 7, they're up 8, and then Hofstra would walk it back to 3 or 4, and then back to 8, and then back to 3 or 4. That never happened in the second half. You have to credit Cincinnati's defense, especially second half, running them off the line. And doing a great job on a team at home with a fan base. Hi, Dave. Good to see you, buddy. With a fan base that was they wanted to get rowdy. Like, that fan base wanted to get rowdy, and Cincinnati never let it happen.
Well, and like, I don't know that they ever actually panned out to the view that we got yesterday with Coach Wes Miller, where you saw the wall of NIT and women's NIT banners. But clearly this is a tournament that Hofstra loves. And for Cincinnati to go into, call it what you will, I don't know that it was necessarily a hostile environment, but the announcer said it was getting loud. I don't know. I mean, you went on the road and you took care of a team that you should have taken care of. I think that there's very, I don't know that it's a huge disparity, but there's certainly a disparity between the AAC and its exact antithesis, the CAA.
Yeah, but I mean, the key being in this game, Hofstra had two dudes, and it didn't matter what conference they were in. Thomas and Estrada can score. They can get buckets, and Cincinnati made life hell for both of them. 12 for 38 from the floor for those two guys. Estrada was 2 of 5 from 3. Thomas was 2 of 8 from 3. Estrada only goes to the line once. Thomas gets there, 2 free throws. And then Thomas 4 for 5 from the free throw line. You forced him into a combined 5 turnovers. And then you add Carlos, their point guard, with 2 additional turnovers. He only had 2 points. So that backcourt that was really the thing that carried this Hofstra team all season was inconsistent at best. Cincinnati made them work for everything. How about the stones on Wes Miller to put Dan Skillings on Estrada for a pretty good chunk in the second half, and Dan's length bothered him. I mean, you're putting a freshman on, a guy that averages 20 plus a game. That was ballsy with the game still pretty much in the balance. That guy's good enough to put 9, 11 in a row on you and get them right back in the game. Credit to Wes for doing it. Credit to Dan for taking the assignment. Was it perfect? No. Let him get loose a little bit, but he frustrated the hell out of him with his length.
Well, and we talked last night about Estrada being a 20-point scorer. He still got his 18. We talked about Thomas being a 50-point scorer. He still got his 16. And, I mean, Estrada had 8 assists also. Yeah. He had 6 rebounds also. I mean, they did everything that they could, and those are two dudes who performed what they had been doing all season, even.
But not like that. Not on 38 shots and only 12 makes.
Correct.
They're going to get, because of how much Hofstra relies on them, the points are going to be there. It's the efficiency and then you couple that efficiency with just absolute domination on the glass.
Correct.
One shot and out, and Cincinnati had the ball back. And it's hard. If you go 1 for 10 from 3, if you're not hitting the 3 and you're going 1 and out, the other team should pull away like Cincinnati did.
You won the glass battle 42-27. And what we've seen all season is when Cincinnati wins by a little bit, they're usually winning the game. When they're dominating like this, they don't lose.
Well, and Hofstra missed a lot of shots. It was 31-11 on the glass on that end of the floor. Cincinnati had 20 more rebounds on Hofstra's offensive end. How about this? On Cincinnati's offensive end, Hofstra had 16 rebounds. Cincinnati had 11. And Odi Oguama was eating glass on the offensive boards.
Like what the Bengals look for in offensive linemen.
Well, yeah, you had 8 offensive rebounds combined between Odi and Vic. That's just a monster number.
And if you want to talk about Odi and Vic, 30 points combined between the two of them. Cincinnati wins the points in the paint battle 40-28. And those two dudes, they are performing. I feel like Vic today was the most comfortable I recall Vic looking. And I think we saw flashes of this in their last game against Virginia Tech. But today was the most comfortable I've seen Vic since his injury.
He still doesn't look great. He's not moving great, but he looked more confident for sure.
He was doing his little, they're not floaters, but they're not bunnies. They're just
like a little half hook.
It's not even a hook. I don't know. It's just a weird little jump pop shot, whatever it is. It looks like what I do when I'm playing on those little pop-up shots in the basement, But yeah, I mean, really good to see those two guys combine for 30 points and 19 rebounds between the two of them.
Yeah. How about this stat from today? David DeJulius has now had the third best season in the history of the program with 190 assists. The only person to have more assists in a season than Dave has this year is 2 seasons from Oscar. You start putting, and honestly, if they make it, I don't think he can catch him for number 1. I think he's about 16 behind. I think 206 is second. I think 206 is second. So he's 16 behind for second. He could get there if they win the next one, he could get there and be second all time.
You win the whole damn thing of the NIT?
He probably would be close. I don't think he can. I think it was 220. I mean, 30 assists in 3 games is a big number.
Correct.
Big number. But he can realistically get to second and make a run at least at catching Oscar. You go down above Oscar in anything, points, rebounds, assists, it doesn't damn matter. Who'd have thought that?
Great point, Jason K. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the year?
219 is the number, so he needs 29. Hunter, I want to get to this. Earlier in the season, it felt like this team would have let Hofstra get back into it. Shows a lot of improvement on finishing down the stretch, not getting rattled and keeping our foot on the gas. You know what the difference is, Hunter? Defense. They're getting stops. Because what has happened in those games where they've let teams back in it, you're up 12, you're up 14, and next thing you know, you give up a 6 or 7-0 run or a 9-2 run, something along those lines. And next thing you know, it's a 5 or 6 point game. And a 5 or 6 point game is 2 possessions from being tied or the other team being in the lead. And they haven't, especially Virginia Tech and now Hofstra, they've gotten that little bit of separation, and the defense has continued to get stops, and that's when you can separate. I know this is rock. You know, I'm Captain Obvious here, but if they can't score, they can't catch you. Like your scoring droughts, if you're up 13 and they can't score, it doesn't matter how many you scored. So they've done a great job with that. And then like today, they got up 18, and they did give up that 5-0 run to get it back to 13. But when you're up 18, you got a little bit more cushion. What else did they do today, Aaron? They took it all the way down almost on the shot clock, where they were taking shots with the horn expiring or 4 or 5 seconds left on the horn, except for the one Landers took that West probably wanted to kill him for. But yeah, if you play defense and you're smart about working the clock and using the clock to your advantage, it's really hard for somebody to come back. And instead of a close game, you get a 14-point comfortable walk to the finish line.
So I know people often like to talk about Cincinnati not making adjustments. This team made adjustments in the second half, and you can see them in the stats. In the first half, they were 3 of 9 from the arc. In the second half, they only took 5 threes. I don't know that they've had a half this season that they've only taken 5 threes.
They only took 6 against Virginia Tech.
Well, they went 1 of 5, and they pounded it down low with Vic and with Odie and whoever else could drive the lane. I thought that was interesting that they did make that adjustment, and they were able to just capitalize on that height advantage and not just continue to blast threes around the arc.
Yeah, well, they had, this is what people were probably most upset about earlier in the year, is that there were games where they had size advantages and they maybe didn't take advantage of them the way that they did today. Now, you know what makes that a lot easier is when Odie is playing like he is playing right now. You can utilize that a lot more because early in the year it was just Vic of the bigs that was playing well. And that can be difficult because teams will just kind of focus on keeping the ball out of his hands or sending an extra guy when he gets it and making it difficult for him to really dominate. But when you've got 2 of them, now the smaller team is really in peril because they barely have 1 big guy that can stop you. Now you've got 2 big guys. And Wes even said post-game with Dan and Terry, Like I had to tell JD, look, man, it's nothing like you're doing everything right. I want to put you in the game, but I can't because we're killing them with Odie and Vic. And I have to keep them on the floor and, don't look too deep into it.
I don't mind it. I mean, go with what works, right? You're not here to pad anybody's stats. You're here to win a game.
Right. You play to win the game.
Fair enough, Steven. He says Aaron's mentioned how much Hofstra loves the NIT with all the banners, but Landers Nolly also loves the NIT. He was the MVP of the NIT 2 years ago.
He was. Yeah, he was the NIT MVP at Memphis. So Landers loves turn. Like he loved Maui. He was good in the conference tournament. He was good.
Yeah, didn't he get
against Virginia Tech? He was good today.
He got recognition for the conference tournament.
He was on the all conference tournament team. Yeah. Landers went 9 of 11 from the line. If that's again, yes, you'd like to see him make all of them, but 9 of 12, given what we've seen from this team over the years, I'll take 75%. That's what that is, right? 3 of 4, 9 of 12.
Yeah, correct.
I'll take 75%. Would I like 80? Damn right. I think the other thing is Landers is capable of shooting 80, 90% from the free throw line. So when he shoots 75, I can see somebody, but if he's 10 of 12, you don't even think about it. And it didn't hurt them today.
Should we do our player-by-player breakdown?
Knock it out. Have at it.
All right. I don't think I'm going to get much argument from you on this, but I'm going to give my MVP today to Landers Nolly. I think he had himself a hell of a day.
I would argue.
Yeah?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, 20 points, 6 rebounds. I feel like when the team needed a shot, he wasn't afraid to take the ball in his hands. He was aggressive with the ball in his hands. I know we have talked a lot throughout the season about this team needing a leader, and I think that role has firmly been established at this point between DeJulius and Landers Nolly as they co-captain this team, and I think all roads lead to those two at this point as being your co-captains. Only 3 turnovers. He did have a block. He had 2 steals. His plus minus at 14, pretty good. 2 assists. And I think that without Landers Nolly kind of commanding the pace of the first half, I don't think this team gets it done.
I think somebody else controlled the first half a little bit more.
Go on.
Odi Oguama.
Okay.
I think his work on the offensive glass kind of set the tone for this team early. He was 7 of 8 from the floor. He had 14 points. He had 11 rebounds. He had a steal. He had an assist. His assist was perfect. Dave hits him underneath the rim, and he could have gone up for a tough contested shot, but instead just a little touch pass to Vic as Vic is moving downhill towards the basket. It was beautiful. I don't have a problem with you picking Nolly, and I'm not debating you picking Nolly. I'm just saying for me, Odie, I think, set the tone of like, you're going to get your ass beat on the glass today, and I'm going to do it. And I mean, he had 6 points on 5 offensive rebounds, like early in the half.
Before we go on to any other players, let's consider this. I know that Vic's not operating at 100%. We all know that. If Vic doesn't go down with his injury when he does, do you think we see the evolution of Odie the way that we've seen Odie?
Probably not.
I agree.
Probably not. And that's what's important for guys like Odie, who was in kind of a secondary role. And he had moved into the starting lineup at that point, but it wasn't as – he was kind of playing as the 5th guy offensively. And then when Vic went down, it was like, all right, well, at worst, we're going to need you to move up to 4 and probably to 3 in terms of your scoring. And he answered the bell. He's had a game where he went 7 for 7. He's had a game where he went 9 for 9. This time he's 7 for 8. And he just had a shot blocked, like right at the rim. his confidence level has skyrocketed. The layup on the break was outstanding. 2 big strides and a strong finish at the rim. Haven't seen that much from him. Filling the lanes.
You have to go back all the way to where, we were talking about he was an offensive liability under the rim at times earlier this season.
He was pump faking ghosts.
And to him getting to where he's at right now, I think that's, again, just a tribute to what Coach Wes Miller, what Coach Mike Roberts, and the rest of the staff have done with the bigs and just building the confidence in this young man, Odi Oguama, who, when he got to Cincinnati, I know we joke about Dan being a wobbly baby deer out there.
Odi was worse.
Odi was also a wobbly baby deer when he got to Cincinnati. So
Dan was like 4 days old when he got here. Odi was like 2.
It's just cool to see his evolution since he's been here, and even in this season since Vic went down. So hat tip to him.
Last month, essentially.
Right.
Last month he's been very strong.
I think we got to go
get to somebody. I want to get to somebody before we get to anybody else.
Okay.
Micah Adams-Woods.
Okay.
People are pretty hard on him throughout this game, and at the end, when you look back, he had a 3 and a layup that came at a critical time that helped extend the lead. He finished with 8 points. He was 3 of 6 from the floor, 2 of 3 from deep. He had 3 rebounds. He had 2 assists. He had 2 steals and a block. He played 34 minutes, and he led the team in plus-minus at plus 20. I know people want to be hard on Micah and JD because they want to be right. They feel like those 2 guys should be run out of town.
Correct.
And they want them, they'll deny this, but they want them. People want to be right more than some people, not all people. Some people want to be right more than they want to enjoy watching their team.
There are fans actively rooting against those 2 players. Yes.
I'll do the Windhorse, the Brian Windhorse. So what does it mean? He played well. Was he great? No, but your 2 main guys were cooking, and you had Odi and Vic also playing really well. So what does Micah need to do in that situation? Chip in 8 points, a couple rebounds, a couple assists, get a couple steals, a block, stuff the stat sheet, and play 34 minutes and just be effective.
Davenport also wasn't great. If you want to say, were they great? Davenport only had 19 minutes, only had 2 points, but in those 19 minutes, he also had 5 rebounds. I feel like he was involved on some of the fast breaks that they had. He was a gnat in and around the ball. Like, just because some of those things aren't showing up on the stat sheet doesn't mean that he didn't contribute because it wasn't points. I know nobody likes to see 1 of 5 from the field. Nobody likes to see 0 of 3 from 3, but those are going to be games that you get.
One of them was a bad one where he just caught it and hot
from the logo.
It. Yeah. But he'll do that sometimes. Sometimes he'll just catch it and feel like his fingers are tingling.
Every shot can be at any given moment. He can heat check.
He can, even if he's 0 for 6. He's going to heat check at some point in time.
I don't know. That's just as you're bringing up Micah, I thought it was worth in the same breath to mention JD, just because they almost had similar games in that they were involved, but it wasn't to the level that other players were.
And you didn't see really in Hofstra, I don't know if they just didn't have anybody really that could attack him. But they weren't going at him. That's probably also because you've got, 2 guys that average almost 40 combined. So you want the ball in their hands. But I thought Micah played good defense. They were on the perimeter. They were very good defensively pretty much throughout outside of that one stretch late in the second half.
As guards go, if I don't notice that you're having a bad defensive day, you're having a good defensive day.
Right. If I don't notice you getting cooked over and over again,
right.
you're doing all right.
Right. So then we'll move on to Vic. Vic, 16 points, goes 6 of 9 from the field, 4 of 6 from the line, 3 offensive boards, 5 defensive, totaling 8 on the day, 1 assist, only 1 foul. And you could tell that 1 foul, he was pretty peeved that he even got it, as he always is. 2 turnovers, a block, a steal, in his 28 minutes, and he finishes with the second highest plus minus with 18, plus 18.
He was a lot more comfortable today. That's the best way I can put it. The past couple games, he's looked uncomfortable. Even the SMU or no Temple, even the Temple game where he had a bunch of blocks.
Yeah,
he still didn't look like he was moving great. The blocks weren't him like coming from help side or like making an athletic play. It was like Temple came downhill at him, and Vic was just like.
Well, I know I mentioned like his little pop-a shot, but he also had one today where he tried to go strong side and it wasn't there, and he ended up reversing it on the weak side. And those are the types of moves that we haven't seen of late from Vic.
Just that agility, the comfortable, the level of comfort looked up.
Yep. So happy to see him kind of getting maybe a little bit of his juice back. So we'll see how that goes in their next matchup here in the NIT in Vegas.
No, not yet.
No,
they'll have one more road game against either. No, the Elite Eight is still on the road. Colorado and Utah Valley play tomorrow night at like 9:30 at night. Yeah, so
I'm not watching that game.
I'll probably be watching the NCAA tournament, but just keeping an eye on it. You'll play at one of those places either Tuesday or Wednesday. With them playing late on Sunday, I would guess we're looking at Wednesday for the next game, which always screws. Everything's on Wednesday and screws with our podcasting.
Well, and it'll be like a 9 p.m. tip off. So
maybe we'll do pregame. Maybe we'll pregame the NIT. We'll go live at 7:00 on Wednesday.
You and Dave.
Pregame the NIT.
He'll love that.
He's not gonna care. He'll be glad to get it out of the way. I'll be like, all right, sounds great. Perfect. We'll have spring football to talk about that night. That'll be the first day back for spring football practice. So I don't know. We'll discuss. We'll figure it out as the week goes on.
And I think we've mentioned pretty much what Dan did already, as he only had 4 points.
Big three. He had a big three.
3 rebounds, 1 offensive.
Or they called it a 2. I'm sorry. They called it a 2.
1 offensive.
I thought it was a 3.
2 defensive, only 1 foul, 2 turnovers. He's got to kind of get some of that out. But 1 block, plus minus.
That was on
5.
Estrada trying to like hit a little pull up from 15 feet, and Dan just go gadget arms him. Blocked it. See, correct. Dave would love to do Wednesday and just get it over with at 7:00.
Just didn't know that previewing a basketball game was on his list of fun things to do.
We can just talk about it, but we're going to have other stuff. Like I said, spring football will be back. We'll have stuff to do, and then we can just get it done. And Rock of Truth can have Thursday to themselves.
I'm going to be honest. The most surprising thing is that Dave's still here in the chat.
Yeah, that is. Well, especially he's watching Tennessee and Duke.
It's just on his phone. He has his phone in his hand. He's watching the game.
Yeah.
He's listening to us with half an ear.
We're a stress relief for him right now because he's pacing for certain. For certain. Yeah. What else you got? We've hit pretty much everybody, haven't we? Kalu came in and gave a good little stretch. He didn't pick up 2 fouls right away, but a good 3-minute little bump there towards the end when they got.
He was another one who felt like a gnat when he was in there, right? And I know that I said I've said that sometimes he plays a little out of control, but in this particular game, I feel like his out of control was warranted, and it worked for him because no one had any idea where his limbs were going to end up, including Kalu Ezikpe.
Okay, the first foul I thought it was cheap. The second one he got him. Not even Dave's cool as a cucumber, just ready to knock off the Blue Devils and get the Vols into. Dave, did you see? I think Justin picked him to the Final Four. I think Justin had Tennessee to the Final Four. I don't know. I don't get to talk to Justin anymore. He's like a national guy now or something. They sent him to Columbus to cover the NCAA tournament. So I've been giving him a hard time. Oh, do you even work here anymore? Like, are they moving you to wherever the Athletic is headquartered? You based out of there now?
Is he even still employed by the Athletic, or is he officially New York Times at this point?
It's still the Athletic, but I mean, yeah, that's like, am I employed by 24/7 or CBS? My checks come from CBS, so
okay,
there you go. There you go. What else you got, man?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I necessarily have anything else on this particular game. I think today was a game that, as you continue to look forward for next year, these are the types of games that you build on in the conversations that you have with recruits, with regard to boosters. Even like, look at what we did, and I know people kind of turn their nose up at the NIT, myself included, but they're playing meaningful basketball in March, and at the end of the day, isn't that what you really want?
Here's the other point I wanted to make. I'm glad you said that because it kind of popped it back into my brain. What was one of the biggest concerns we had with this team throughout the season? Learning how to win, learning how to power through and win games that you should win at the end of the game. And they weren't good at it for the longest time. And we saw them start to turn a corner with a couple weeks left in the regular season. Was it perfect from there? No, but you could start to tell they were playing with more confidence as games were coming down to the wire. They pushed the Temple game out to 30. They pushed SMU out to 20. They didn't have those lulls that we just talked about at the beginning of the show, where they were up 14 and in 3 trips it was down to 7. And you're like, what the hell? Like, okay, great. Now here we go. Like they got away from that. They've also, in some closer games, been able to get across the finish line and hold on to leads and look more comfortable doing it in a back and forth kind of battle. This has given you 2 more games against or Virginia Tech and Hofstra. Great, no. But ultimately, their team's right in that 50 to 75 range of the net and Ken Palm. They're teams with a pulse, I guess is the best way to put it. And Cincinnati has closed out confidently 2 teams with a pulse. And if that's the good that comes away from getting a couple extra games in the NIT, that is a lasting good that will stick with this roster going into next year. Like, that is a development that they can build on, that they're not going into to next year when they get into a 5-point game with 5 minutes left. They're not pissing down their leg. They're saying, okay, we're good. Get some stops, get a couple buckets. We can do this. They're not wondering, how are we going to get to the finish line? Like, did you ever run when you were growing up, Aaron? Like track, cross country? No. I hated cross country, right? I hated it. And track, I was really good. Like, really good in track. Ran a multiple state champ. Like, I was really good in track. In track, the finish line to me always seemed like it was right there. In cross country, you would see the finish line and you would be close to it, and it would feel 2.5 miles away. Like, you've just ran 3 miles, you're 1/10 of a mile from the finish line. It's such a small fraction of what you've already done, but it's just a little piece of tape, like, all the way down at the end of this field. And your body is like, I'm not going to make it to there. I don't want to do this anymore. This sucks. And that's what they felt like at the beginning of the year. They're probably 60, 70% of the year that the finish line just looked so far away at the end of games and they couldn't get there. And now they're running track where you cross the finish line with your chest, with some confidence, instead of like wobbling. I know that's probably a terrible analogy, but it just popped in my head. And now it seems like they're sprinting instead of long distance running.
Well, and I think that's where it's important that guys like Dan are involved in wins like that. Or, I mean, I know obviously you don't see a ton of Josh Reed lately getting his cleanup in garbage time.
He's around.
He is around. But I just wonder, guys like Dan, guys like Vic, guys that you definitely know are coming back, and potentially, whether it be Landers, Davenport, Micah, Odie, whoever. In addition, I think that just for the guys, Sage obviously on the bench as well, but we'll see what happens come next year, and if these types of wins are things that you can continue to use as a catalyst for next season.
Yeah. It's an important development. It's a very important development because they were bad at it for a while. They were bad at it. And now they've got the hang of it. I mean, Jeff, I loved going to cross-country meets. You know what I'm saying? I loved going to cross-country meets. I didn't like running cross-country. There's a lot of talent in cross-country and track that, appeal to a 16-year-old young man.
Don't get us canceled.
I'm not. I'm just saying. Like, it was a good sport. That's all. But when you saw that finish line, when you saw that tape all the way down at the end of the chute, and you still had a little ways to go, and your body was like, I don't want to do this anymore, that wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. Jeff agrees. He's picking up what I'm throwing down.
Peanut.
Let's see. Points per possession for the Bearcats, 1.145. Points per possession for Hofstra, 0.942. Like, that's maybe holding them under a point per possession with their guards' ability to score and score and score and score and score. That's a big-time accomplishment for this defense. Big time.
Matt Offrey says he was at the game, at least 100 UC fans there. Kane Broom. We did see pictures of him on Twitter. Also, Troy Calpain's dad was in attendance as well. Troy Calpain Sr., as it were. He said that the second half was immense in person. So
maybe I'll see what Kane's doing Monday night.
Yeah, he's been on with us before.
Yeah. I mean, I have regular communication with Kane. Maybe see what get his thoughts.
Maybe that's who popped in with Troy when Troy was on the show. Was it Kane?
It was Kane. Yeah, it was Kane.
Yeah.
Tennessee up 9 with 1:44 to go on the ball, Aaron. Duke might be kicking rocks. Everybody, what did I tell you? I told everybody, don't pick Duke because teams that go undefeated in March into the tournament, they don't win. Very cool to hear from Kane. I think he was with them at halftime with Dan and Terry.
I don't know. I just watched, but
Dave just jumped. Chelsea says it really is great to see them play so much better than early in the season. That's what you want from a team. That's what you're always looking for, to be playing your best basketball as you head down the home stretch. Now, we all like to go back and get a redo on November with how crappy they played. Yeah, absolutely would like to get a redo on November with how crappy they played. But November is also why I'm not a big fan of turning over the majority of your roster every year. Because you have so many things you have to figure out, so many new roles you have to evaluate and distribute, and guys figuring out where they fit and what their are they a scorer on this team? Are they a defender on this team? Are they a glue guy? Like, that's why I hate 6, 7, 8 guys every year.
You want to know my hot take after today?
Okay.
Give me a healthy John Newman and a healthy Rob Finney all season. This team's in the tournament. Without question.
They're close. I think they're very close. They'd at least have been
last 4
very bubblicious.
Last 4 in for sure, if not better than that.
The question would have been do they get one? Do they get a Houston win? Do they get a Memphis win? Do they maybe win the Xavier game? If you win 2 of those,
Temple, Tulane.
But I'm talking, you have to have signature wins.
Maybe.
And that would have been this team's problem. they could have compiled wins, but they wouldn't have had much, at the top of the food chain.
If they go 2-0 against both Tulane and Temple, do those wins against Tulane and Temple versus like the one win against each of them, as opposed to beating them twice, do those mean as much?
No, they look worse.
I agree. Oddly enough, which is so stupid.
That's how we judge college basketball.
It's so stupid.
Well, I mean, there's no avoiding that. Like in pro sports, everybody plays the same teams.
I'm just saying, like if you beat them undefeated, and the only teams that you lose to are Houston and Memphis all year in conference.
Wow.
It doesn't
65-52. Tennessee takes down Duke. That's pretty
I'm surprised.
Convincing.
I'm glad I didn't put any money down on Duke today.
Yeah. Congratulations, Dave. We're very proud of you. Very proud of you. All right.
Well, thanks to the 50 knuckleheads who decided to make us a part of your Saturday afternoon.
Go Bearcats.
Appreciate you.
That was a big one. It felt good. Felt good to win comfortably, to not sweat it down the stretch. That always feels good when you get done with a March game and you don't feel like anxiety has riddled your body. It's squeaking out a 3-point win on the road. So good game by the fellas. 4 in double figures, 1 close, dominant on the glass, and an impressive win on the road against a good basketball team. And we'll see where they end up, whether it be Utah or Colorado. But we'll be back here either Tuesday or Wednesday as the Bearcats are back at it. The BBP on Monday night. I'm sure Aaron and I will have something to talk about tomorrow.
Maybe we talk about Memphis's meltdown. Penny Hardaway being a menace.
How about Malcolm Dandridge just shoving Kendrick Davis in the back?
I haven't even. I knew that they were fighting. I haven't even gone to look at the replays. So maybe we'll get into some of that tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys later. Maybe just the first weekend of the tournament talk. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. This is the Nightcap, the day drinking edition, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.